Turn that off. It's time for No Pad Sports Talk. Stay tuned as two brothers bring you the latest from your Michigan teams and beyond in hockey, baseball, football, and more. Let's get started. Here are your hosts, JD and Steve.
Welcome to another special edition of No Pad Sports Talk. I am one of your hosts, JD.
And I'm Steve, and today we're going to try and break from our, it seems like 10 videos.
Yes.
But it's not, I don't think it's been that many, but breaking from the baseball side of things, even though today's still the trade deadline.
Yep.
But we're going to talk a little football.
Yep, we're going to record a video on the trade deadline day, kind of like a bonus video for you guys. And schedule this to get put out a little bit later, so we'll have a little bit more content to watch. But just kind of as we're waiting for the trade deadline to end, we will have a trade deadline video. But right now this one's going to be all about football.
Absolutely. So, they're going to start out with a little bit of Michigan football, some Big Ten stuff.
Yes.
Just in general about the Big Ten. But, we want to include Michigan because I'm a Michigan guy.
Right.
And I'm super excited about having season tickets.
You should
I've already downloaded them on my phone. Because if anyone's ever been to the Big House, knows that the service at the Big House sucks. But it's because there's 110,000 people trying to get on the same, trying to use all the service.
Yeah.
So I got them all downloaded. I'm ready to go. I got my campsite ready to go. My buddy Scott's flying in from Texas for a game, so it's going to be a lot of fun. But so next year, we're talk a little bit Big Ten, right?
Jump in. Okay.
I know. Well, let's just gonna jump right in here, right?
All right, let's do it.
So Big Ten,
yeah,
right? We all know that USC and UCLA are going to be part of the Big Ten starting in the 2024 season.
That's exciting. I like that move.
I do. I think that was big, right?
Yeah.
What I've been waiting to hear is like how the divisions were going to get organized, right?
Yeah.
Well, it comes down, they're not going to have a division. No divisions. They're just straight block. Best two.
Going old school, huh?
Going old school, right? So, with that talk of going those two teams coming over and the change, I saw an article. It was actually they were interviewing Ryan Day and John Harbaugh.
Okay.
Jim Harbaugh, the other Harbaugh.
Yeah.
About the possibility of moving the Michigan-Ohio State game from the last game of the season, because if those are the top two teams,
they
play the last game, and then they're going to play again, and then possibly play a third time if they make it to the playoffs.
Right.
Because that playoff is going to be expanding too.
Yes.
Right? So the possibility of playing we'll call it 3 straight games, but it'll be 3 straight games, but 2 weeks in a row almost, right? So the possibility of moving that game. Now, this game has been kind of where it's at, the second, the third, whatever, that week in November, that mid-November time frame. I think I saw it since 1933. So, obviously, Michigan is like, Jim Harbaugh says, we will play whenever it's on the schedule. We don't care, right? Blake Corum, same thing. He says we can play him in 7, we can play him in 11, we can play him in 12. It doesn't matter, right? Ryan Day, I didn't even listen to him because I wasn't even paying attention to what he had to say because he's not that important to me, right?
All right.
So I want to how would you feel? Like that's like the game that's always the last game on the schedule. It's been like that our entire lives.
Yeah.
Right? So how would you feel about it moving?
Well, personally, right? Like, of course, my favorite sport is baseball. And one of the things that I felt was holding baseball back for a while is their refusal to change, holding on to the past. It was, and why? Because it's always been this way.
Right.
And, I get it, but it could be better, right? It could always... You always got to look to make the game better, and baseball has made some changes like the mound and things like that. And this year, though, I think was a lot of different changes as far as bases being bigger, the pitch clock, a whole bunch of other stuff. And I think that kind of put baseball in another level as far as for average fans to be able to watch. Now, how that relates to football is, who cares? Like, that was something that I thought of last year. I think I was thinking about before that, but like last year, it really kind of reared its ugly head, right?
So it was absolutely still a possibility,
and that was just like, it was kind of stupid to me.
yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, because obviously you can't play in the championship game currently as is now. You can't have Michigan versus Ohio State in the Big Ten.
That's correct.
And
they were the two best teams in the Big Ten.
Yes.
But because they were in the same division, there was no way that they could play in the championship game.
But now they can without being realigned.
Yeah. So I like the realignment piece because I was really worried. I'm like, did USC and UCLA stay on the West, right? And then they bring over a team from that side to us to even out and balance, to balance those out, to try and make that other side competitive, right?
Yeah.
Because the East is super competitive, right? Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan State too, right? Like, those Rutgers is gonna be a better team, right? So all of those, it's just tough. It's a very, very tough.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
And on the other side, you got Wisconsin,
Yeah.
and now, well,
Not much else.
it was not much else, right?
Yeah.
So I was wondering how that was going to work. Actually, I like the idea that they're going to go back and they're just going to straight 16 top whatever, right?
But I wonder how they're going to schedule it. Because
Well, I got that. I got
Okay.
that for you.
good. Let's see what
Right?
happens. Yeah.
Here's how we do that, right? So, for the next 2 years, they've already kind of got the schedules, like their opponents, for the Big Ten, how they're going to do it, and they do a home and home for at least one team to make sure that they're covering that team. So this year, Michigan gets Maryland, so they're going to play Maryland away. I'm not this year. Next year, in the 2024 season, they're going to play Maryland away, and then in 2025, they got Maryland at home. Okay, they're always going to play Michigan State every year, and they're always going to play Ohio State every year, right? Like
Okay.
that's kind of how, like some of those rivalry games, the trophy games, the like the Paul Bunyan, the blah, all of that stuff, right? Those games are going to be played every year, right?
Good.
USC
Okay.
is still going to play UCLA every year, right? Just like it did in the past. But the way they're kind of trying to run and schedule that, they want each team to play every other team at least twice over a 4-year period. So that's how they're going to run that schedule, so that after 4 years, they'll have a home and home of each team. So it took me my brain to kind of wrap around that, but
Yeah.
that's we're talking. They're going to have 7-8 Big Ten games a year instead of maybe I think it just depends, right? So 7 or 8 Big Ten games every year. So there was that, right?
Okay.
So we're going to talk a little bit about rumors since we're already expanding the Big Ten, right?
Yeah.
So you got the Big Ten. Got UCLA, UCSC coming over.
I have to ask.
Yeah.
Are they ever going to change the name for Big Ten?
It is not.
It's always going to stay
It's
Big
just
Ten.
going to stay the Big Ten. So, like in the Pac-12, right? They used to be the Pac-10 when we were kids. Because
Yeah.
they had 10 teams. We had 10 teams, right? Well, there was a Big 12. They still have a Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is it possible? Maybe. But I think the Big Ten is such an iconic logo, an idea, and a league, or the conference, that I don't know that's ever going to change.
Yeah, I get that. And I guess that's kind of sucks that they threw in a number associated with the name. Because like the SEC, ACC,
I know.
right? Like, no
Yep.
number involved. They don't
Nope.
worry about changing anything.
Right. Exactly. But again, all of those teams, like the Atlantic Coast Conference, they're all basically on the Atlantic Coast, right? Mm-hmm. The SEC, they're the Southeast Conference. Mm-hmm. That's where those teams are usually at, right? As of now, the Big Ten is going to cover coast to coast.
Yeah. From Rutgers and Maryland all the way
Yeah.
west to
We're going
LA.
to be the BCC, Big Coast to Coast.
Sure. Yeah, that's actually just call it CNC
CNC, yeah, coast to coast.
or C2C.
Yeah.
maybe.
So
Actually, that's not a bad idea.
It's not?
Because it's
Okay.
like a C to C, but it's
Yeah.
actually like C. I don't know.
C's on it.
Hey,
do
I'm
like the
just
C
saying.
backwards with a 2 in the middle and the other C that
Yeah.
way? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I don't know. Anyways, sorry. I had to ask because I just thought that was
Yeah.
okay. Cool.
So,
Yeah.
rumor mill now. So we are already expanding by 2 teams.
Yes.
Apparently, the Big Ten is not done expanding.
I've heard that rumor.
Okay? And there were 4 teams in particular. Florida State,
Interesting.
Clemson,
Awesome.
Oregon,
Okay, heard that.
and Washington. Right? With that I read about, I was thinking, okay. Right?
Okay.
Now, Florida State has basically already come to an agreement with the Atlantic Coast Conference on a $300 million buyout. Okay? And I'm trying to remember my source. I read it from somewhere and I didn't write it down. And I apologize to the person who said this first. But, so they're going to buy out to get out earlier.
Yeah.
By next year.
Okay.
They're talking. Okay? So they're going to do it on a $10 million a year payout every year. So if they go to the Big Ten, they said that the Big Ten last year paid their teams in about $70 million to $100 million, right? Because of endorsements and TV rights and all of that stuff, right? So that's already covering, a third. If they got 100, it's already a third of what they owed the ACC in 1 year. Right? So they're basically doubling what they would have gotten this year if they stay in the ACC, right? The SEC, say they move the SEC team got 50 to 70 mil, right? So again, still more than they were getting in the ACC, and they can pay that back, and like they're doubling their profits.
Yeah.
Right? They're putting double the money in their their pocket. So I thought that was Florida State. I thought was interesting.
Yeah, me too.
Clemson, I thought was like way out of nowhere, right? But I guess if you think about what the division that Clemson, the ACC, what other top programs are in the ACC, right? It's competition wise, right? When we talk about strength of records, when you look at the ranking system,
Yeah.
that strength of record can hurt teams,
Okay.
right? Especially if you lose a conference game to was it Virginia Tech? I think they're in the ACC. So if that's the case, that can hurt you more, or even beating them, but just barely beating them.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Either way, it just hurts their strength of schedule. Right?
Yeah.
So it can hurt them in the rankings. So by moving over, but I'm seeing, because last week or earlier this week, within the last 10 days, the Pac-10 or Pac-12, I'm sorry, says that they thought that the teams that they had were solid teams that were going to be staying, right? And now there's rumors about Oregon and Washington potentially as the Big Ten enticing them to come over, or other conferences. It could be any conference.
No, of course, yeah.
Right. But I thought those were some interesting things.
Actually, it's very interesting, and again, I love the thought of Clemson coming over. I do.
Yeah.
I mean that is a good team to have in the Big Ten Conference.
I think that's the beginning of something that starts to change the way the conference plays football, right? And the type of football that they've played, right?
Yeah.
While Smash Mouth football is great, and I love when, we put up 300 yards rushing against teams, right? That, wide open, spread the field, 4 receivers, send the, running back out, like, that scores points.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So there's that excitement about having to defend it, but also trying to adapt where you're at and continue to grow to be better. Right? Because I think is eventually going to happen is the NFL is going to have to change.
I agree.
Right?
100%, yeah. NFL will have to change.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. There's a lot of stuff about, Jonathan Taylor has asked for a trade. The running back market in the NFL is undervalued, right? Mm-hmm. And I think depending on the type of running back you are, I think the value's not there. But I look at like Dalvin Cook, right? 1,000-yard rusher for 4 straight years,
yeah.
Pro Bowler, right? Can catch the ball out of the backfield, right? And he still doesn't have a team, right?
Yeah.
And you know, but then you got McCaffrey, who kind of the same kind of build, got a big contract, right? So there is some not clear things that happen when you talk about running back markets, right? If you're just a bruiser, right? But even Jonathan Taylor's not, right? I think he gets 250, 300 yards averages receiving a year, right? On top of his 1,200 yards that he's running every year,
Yep.
or 1,400 yards, right? So I think as you see the college game change, the NFL game is going to have to adapt because the players that you're getting don't play the way you're asking them.
So I'll say this about the whole running back market.
Yep.
Remember back during our draft coverage, there was a bold prediction made that the Lions coveted Jahmyr Gibbs more than what's the guy from Texas? That was what number one.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name.
Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, more than Bijan Robinson.
Yep.
And I believe, in that scenario, what was said was Jahmyr Gibbs is the best running back for the Lions, right? Because of what the Lions do and what their team makeup is, right? Like, what are they trying to do? Bijan Robinson, even though he's a great running back, and he may be the best overall running back in this draft class, like no one's trying to take anything away from him, right? He might be the best running back in the draft.
Absolutely.
But is he the best running back in the draft for the Lions, right? And so you look at teams, like McCaffrey, for San Francisco, and you look at how they use the people on their team, right? Because they have wide receivers running, actually kind of working as a running back, right? They use it differently than, say, the Tennessee Titans.
Yep.
So I think that the people that value the running back, like McCaffrey, because of the team that he's on, will give him a big contract because of what he's capable of doing. That's how they run their offense. The offense goes through him, right?
Okay.
So, and I think with the Lions, Jahmyr Gibbs, the offense is going to go through Jahmyr Gibbs. He's going to be the guy in the backfield. Is he going to get the ball, or is he going to be able to, a little fake and then catch out the backfield and whatever. I don't know, but the point is, they're going to have to account for him every single play because he's either going to get the ball or has the potential to catch the ball, right? One of the two. Hand it off, or he's going to be able to catch it.
That's right.
And so I think teams that have that sort of offensive scheme are going to value running backs more and more and more. So I think that's where that comes in at. I think you see what you're talking about, I'm agreeing with, right? You're already starting to see some teams make that adjustment with college players like the Lions, like the Niners, because again, I know we got Brock Purdy for the Niners, but who did they draft before that? They drafted Trey Lance. Right? Like they're already leaning towards that change that you're speaking of.
That's correct.
So I think the just again reiterate, some teams are already doing that, but most teams have not, and that's why you get this backlog of backs that haven't signed yet because most teams don't value it like some of the newer teams do.
Okay. So I'm going to take a quick second here.
Okay.
Because I just saw this from the Detroit Free Press. It says Rodriguez reportedly exercised his no trade clause for the Tigers, and the Tigers deal with the Dodgers.
I don't know. He had a no trade clause. That was never talked about.
It says Rodriguez has a unique contract that has a 10-team no trade clause, which the Dodgers are included in, and Rodriguez decided to exercise his option, meaning the deal is now dead.
Oh, wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah. More to come on that.
We are going to be having...
More to come on that. I just more to come on that. But,
oh, my goodness.
So, yes. That's big.
I'd like to know who they were trading for.
So, back to football, right?
Yeah.
Right? So, here we go. So, on the college side, if you're just kind of wrapping up the Big Ten, they're going to continue to grow, right? I think you're going to see a couple of super conferences, the SEC.
Oh, yeah.
The Big 12, actually, and I think it's going to be the Big 10. And those are going to be, like, instead of having the Power 5 conferences, those are going to be them, right?
Yes.
Because they're going to have the majority of the teams, right? I think it's because of maybe because of NIL. I think it's going to be because of TV deals, right? Obviously, SEC has their own network. The Big Ten has their own network, right? I think the Big 12 actually has their own, like a TV deal, right? And Notre Dame.
I was just going to ask.
Yeah, so Notre Dame has their own TV deal with just it's by themselves. That's why they're still an independent, and I don't see them ever joining a league or a conference for football, like they did. I think last year
for basketball.
Right? And I think it was the ACC. But for football, I don't ever see that happening. Just because now they're getting that individual money to the team or to the school for their contract, for their TV deal.
I don't know. Personally, I'd just be I'd kind of be I'm trying to think of the word because I know what word I want to say, but I'm trying to keep it family friendly. I would not be a very nice person if I had control of the Big Ten to Notre Dame, right?
Yeah.
Like, if everybody just basically boycotts Notre Dame, dude, you gotta join a conference.
Yeah. Well, I think there was a lot of that. Think about when Nebraska came over. Nebraska was killing teams, and they were an independent at the time.
Yeah.
And they were just killing every team they played, right? And then they came into the Big Ten, and look what happened. They got put in their place.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, they have not been super competitive, if at all, since joining the Big Ten.
No.
And I think teams like Notre Dame might look at that saying, that could be us. And we would be not just another team.
Irrelevant at that
Right.
point.
You know? So that's not something I think that's going to happen.
Notre Dame just seems to always get beat badly by the better teams.
Yeah. Well, when you look at their overall schedule, I mean, they do play some tough games. I mean, I think they play USC. They've got, I know they play Navy, but Navy plays them tough every year, right? But their schedule's not just a bunch of lightweight, Division II type game, right?
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
So they do have a tough schedule. It's just they're all over the place, right? When you look at strength of schedule, and then some of the teams that they play, if they end up playing very good, that hurts them. So it's kind of a give and take, right?
Yeah.
You either got to blow everybody out to make sure that you're always near the top, right? Because if you have a close game to a team that you should, and they have a really bad record, even though it's, say, USC, and they end up with a really bad record, right?
When's the last time Notre Dame was actually relevant in terms of the NCAA football playoff talk?
So I think it was a few years ago they were in the playoffs. It's been within the last 5 years, I believe.
What's that quarterback that came out of Notre Dame everybody loved? Was it with him or was it someone else after him?
Yeah, I can't remember. I just know I'm pretty sure it was within the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of the update on the Big Ten. We all know Jim Harbaugh is going to be out for 4 games because of the NCAA violation for a hot dog.
Yeah, well, whatever. Right?
It is what it is.
Yeah, and
right?
it's the first 4 games, and if the if the Wolverines can't win the first 4 games without Harbaugh,
that's right. It's going to be a really long season.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's transition over to the Lions.
Appalachian State. That's like bringing that up.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right. So here's the Lions, right?
Yeah.
Camp has started. This is week 2 of camp.
Yes.
This week they're in pads, right? So there's a lot of things have been said about the players, especially our rookies, and even our undrafted free agent rookies, right?
Yes.
So, lots of good buzz about players.
It has been.
Right?
Yep.
It's good or bad, right? Jameer Gibbs has been looking good. I hear C.J. Gardner-Johnson gave him his welcome to NFL moment and smacked him. I guess he fumbled the ball on that, right?
All right.
And Gardner-Johnson's like, look, you practice like you play. And Gibbs didn't get up and wasn't like, hey, it's practice, right? Got up, everybody seemed to kind of went their own way, but in the end, I'm like, I agree with him. With what Gardner-Johnson said, and he's coming back from a little bit of an injury too, so,
yeah.
Apparently that's not bothering him.
I guess not.
He's been playing some really good ball over the last few days since he's come back from that injury.
Yep.
Including against Jameson Williams, right? Williams hasn't looked too good.
That's what I've heard.
I don't want to worry yet about him, but I think people are getting in his head. I think the distraction of the suspension,
Yep.
and some of the plays it's just, and they're getting to him. You know, he's had some drops. He couldn't get open or it took him so long to get open. He couldn't get into. The timing was off. So it's been a tough couple of days for Jamo, right?
Yep.
Like I said, I don't really want to worry, but I know that he has to get in as many reps between now and opening day as he can because he's out 6 weeks.
Well, I know there's been a lot of negative press about Jamo for a lot of various things that's happened.
Yep.
Anything from like a tweet about another quarterback to, the fireworks and, whatever else.
Yeah,
But
and he had a little bit of altercation because he dropped the ball, and then it was an undrafted free agent guy, cornerback, and was mouthing off, and they kind of got into it a little bit. So.
And then there was that time on the sideline when he was playing last year where, he was wide open and he came back jawing. Like, I know he got some bad press, but we've always kind of stuck up for the kid.
Yes.
Like we've been his defenders.
We have.
And as much as I want us to keep defending him because I think he deserves, to be defender at this point.
Right.
Especially, it looked like he was working hard, right?
Yeah.
Because he was out in California. He's been practicing on his own time with Jared Goff and others, and it seems like he's really been trying to turn the corner and be a better professional and work his butt off, But then you get, stuff like this, and I know altercations happen. We see it all the time.
Yep.
There was even talk of Kelsey from the Chiefs.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
And it's like,
yeah.
So, like, in my opinion, if someone out there is going to hold Jamo to some standard that he can't have any emotions playing the game of football, then you also got to look at Travis Kelsey. I understand Travis Kelsey's one of the best tight ends in the league. I understand that he's, he's a proven player, right?
Correct.
But the emotion's the same regardless if you're a proven player or a rookie. You still have that.
So the players that the Lions have been drafting come with that, right? They're competitors.
Chips on their shoulders.
That's
I'm
right.
Ross St. Brown.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Having a fantastic camp, by the way. Right?
Yeah.
Took a one-handed catch slant, I think. I know they no pads, but still, it's a one-handed catch. But at his knees.
Yeah.
Right? So, anyway, you got to have emotion. You got to be a competitor if you're going to make the team. That's what you have to have, right? Which is why I like the comment about Gardner Johnson saying, practice like you play.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's how it is, right? Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, said something to Jamo. I like the quote. He says, "No block, no rock."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of receivers that we need on the team. They have to be not afraid to get out there and get dirty for the run game or the screen game or whatever, right? And actually, Jam was the one that said that. He's like, "This is what Coach said. This. That's really all I'm going to say, right?"
Good.
But the defensive coordinator, Glenn,
Yeah.
he was talking. The defense has been chippy, right? And they're pushing the offense, right? Because last year, where were we weak?
Defense.
On defense.
Yeah.
We got some pieces this year on
Yes.
defense, and all of a sudden, they're chatty.
Yeah.
And they're coming out and they're like, look, all the talk was about what the offense is going to look like. We haven't seen it yet, so bring it.
Yeah.
What do you got, right? And I love that.
Me too.
I love that. Because if you can't work hard to make the other part of your team better, then you're not a team. You're an offense, you're a defense, right?
Yep.
That's a team.
Yep.
So.
Oh, I love it, especially, I know you're probably going to get into it later on, but especially some of the stuff that we're hearing from some of these young guys, like some of the feedback that we're seeing. Like that, because, let's face it, that's what this team is built on right now. It's all about the young guys.
Yep.
I think we have one of the youngest teams in the NFL.
Oh yeah.
And even the players that we drafted this year, they have to play. You know, they have to.
We need them to play.
Yes.
Yeah, we need them to be there. So I think I read the Rams have the youngest squad.
Okay.
Average age, but we're definitely top 5 team as far as how young our team is.
Yeah.
Right. Branch showing everybody why the Lions drafted him.
They
right?
traded up a little bit too,
and they traded up to go get him. Right. So he is playing well. They've actually done a Kirby and Gardner Johnson and Branch on the field at the same time.
I was reading that.
I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right? So that, to me, I was like, but we talked about that, I think, during the draft.
Yes.
About they're going to have to play like a 3 safety thing to get these guys in it because they're all that good.
Yes,
right?
they are.
They're going to, Branch is going to come in, probably play the slot or a nickel.
Yeah.
Right? But he can, right? Because he's done that. He's played corner. He's played safety. So, again, it's a player with just skills.
Yeah.
Right? And he's knocking the ball down. He's tracking. He's sticking to players like glue. Right? So that was awesome to hear. Even Broderick Martin, that late round pick, the defensive tackle, had got in and welcomed Mr. Montgomery to the Lions. But he took back Frank Ragnow.
Yeah.
And took him down, like to get to the running back, and then
that's not easy.
And it's not. Now on the backside of that, the coaches Ragnow and the guy from Michigan, the other lineman, Glasgow, right?
Yeah.
Said that he still plays with his pads a little too tall, so he's got to level them out, kind of get a little lower on that pad level. But if he can consistently do that, fantastic. Taylor Decker. Looking like the old Taylor Decker.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
Hasn't been beat at all in camp. Right? On any of the drills. So he's ready to play.
Yeah,
he is back and he's ready. But Broderick Martin, looking pretty good. He's young, right? Didn't come from a big school. No. But the things that the Lions saw were raw talent.
Yeah.
And the things that Broderick Martin needs were coachable, right? Because he has the talent.
Yeah.
But these are coachable things. So that's why, again, another guy, right? We were talking about some of the defensive undrafted rookies, right? Undrafted free agents. Or there's been a lot of talk about them.
Yeah,
right?
Even cornerbacks.
At the cornerbacks, right? Well, let's go to the offensive side.
Okay.
All right, Dylan Drummond, EMU product, Eastern Michigan University, making things look good.
All right.
Who's the backup quarterback? Anyway,
they re-signed the guy.
Yeah, they re-signed him.
Whatever.
So, but they've got some pretty good chemistry here. Like the quarterback is looking for him on plays when they need downs or need yardage, right? So he's making a name for himself. But another receiver that's also making a name for himself is Khalif Raymond.
I heard some talk about Khalif, yes.
And it sounds like he's saying like, you know what? I'm the guy that's going to need to fill in for Jamo while he's out for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Look at me. This is what we're going to do. So you can hear our excitement in what the Lions are going to do and what they've got right now.
Yeah.
The competitiveness, the hard nose, they're playing their coaches, that's the kind of football he wants. And I think they're getting the players in that he wants.
Mm-hmm.
And they play that style of football. And this year, I think we can win 12 games. I think we can win 12 games. 12 games and win the conference. Or win the division. I'm sorry. Win the division.
I'm going to hold back any predictions. I'm not saying we can't. I think we can.
Yeah?
Absolutely, 100%. But, it's 12 games is tough. Right? Mm-hmm. It really is. Winning 12 games is very, very difficult.
Right. But I'm thinking it's still 5 losses because it's a 17-game season.
Right. But it's I don't know. So obviously as Lions fans, we've been let down so many times, and it really is hard to put that amount of faith in the Lions team again.
Okay.
And, and I understand last year, right? They played great at the back end of the season.
Yep.
One of the best teams in all of the NFL.
Yes.
At the back end of the season. I get that. But how many times have we seen the Lions go 6-0 at the beginning of the season, right? And then just drop out your heart.
Drop 6 straight and then split the rest of the season. I know.
So it's tough for me, right? I want to be very optimistic, and I want to be just filled with all kinds of just optimism and they're gonna win this many games because they had I love the coaching staff.
Yep.
Ben Johnson, great. I think Aaron Glenn, great. Dan Campbell, he put together a good staff around him.
Yep.
And kudos to all those guys, especially Ben Johnson with the offense because everybody thought Goff was done. He got traded from the Rams to Detroit.
Yep.
Right, and he was kind of like a reclamation project, and look what happens. He was again a great quarterback. I mean, I say great purposefully. He was a great quarterback last half of the season.
Yeah.
So Ben Johnson and also Ben Johnson, he was the one that came up with all these I don't want to say trick plays, but just unique plays. I'll say that.
Correct.
Right, and again, hats off to Ben Johnson. That's the kind of offensive coordinator this team needs. Someone that's just thinks outside the box. That's not so predictable.
Yep.
Predictability for the Lions' offense has been just for decades. Has been a huge problem.
Run, pass, punt.
Run, pass, punt. Yeah.
Yeah.
So so I love seeing Ben Johnson, and so I'm saying all this because, deep down, I feel it. It's yes, they're gonna win. I feel it. They're gonna win. They can win. They'll win 12 games. But man, dude, it's just hard to put all my feelings and emotions into that and just be disappointed again.
I'm so excited about football. I can't help myself. Right? And here's my bold prediction.
All right.
They go undefeated in the North.
Okay. Now that's actually good.
Right?
Yeah.
Undefeated in the North.
Yeah. I mean, who do you think their biggest competition will be in the North? Because now it used to always be the Packers, of course.
Yep.
But Rodgers is gone.
I'm gonna say it's gonna be the Vikings at home and the Bears at home, and just because it's their home game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's always the Lions struggle to win games on the road. They're notorious for having losing streaks on the road.
Yeah.
So I think those were going to be their two tough division games. I think Green Bay will still be tough in Green Bay, but I think that's an easier game than the others.
It's a big downgrade from Aaron Rodgers to.
It is, unless all of a sudden this kid come.
I mean, Jordan Love, they drafted him for a reason.
They did.
So, but again.
So Packers fans trust in your fingers crossed, right? Because the thing is, I want to see the entire North be competitive, right? Why couldn't all 4 teams make the playoffs? That's how competitive I want them to be.
Because they beat up on each other.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's
right. To me, it's like the Big Ten East.
I would love for something like that to happen, but I'm just not obviously Chicago could be very, very tough. I agree. Mobile quarterback. If he learns a little bit more accuracy, which it sounds like from stuff I'm reading, he's dropping some dimes.
Yep.
And Minnesota. Minnesota's always just tough right now, though.
Yep.
I mean, they got one of the best wide receivers in the game.
Absolutely.
And they still got Kirk Cousins, even though I think he's regressed a lot.
Yep.
He's still dangerous in the regular season.
Yep. And Jefferson easily could get 2,000 yards.
Yeah.
Easily get 2,000 yards.
Yeah. He's I don't know. He's in the top 3 anyways. I don't know if he can put him number 1 or not, but he's top 3.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the Lions. That's where we're at. It's exciting.
It is exciting.
August 6th is the Hall of Fame football game. Yeah. Green Bay and the Browns. Green Bay and the Browns. And I just heard, no, not Green Bay, because it's Aaron Rodgers. the Jets and the Browns.
All I remember was the Browns. Yeah.
Yes, the Jets and the Browns. But Aaron Rodgers is not going to play in that game, and neither is Deshaun Watson.
I think Deshaun Watson kind of needs it. He looked terrible.
I think he does too.
Yeah.
I think he does too. But you're also guaranteed his entire contract. So if you never, like, he got paid even when, it just, he needs the reps.
He does.
And maybe he got a lot of that during the offseason, working with the receivers, working with the tight end, like,
but it's
on
not
his
game
own.
situation.
It's not game situation. And I think having that extra game for him would actually be good. I think it's been the same thing for Aaron Rodgers. I know he's been around the league a long time, but this is a new team, new offense, new players. Like, that timing needs to be there. We saw it when Tom Brady left New England and went to Tampa, right? His timing with those receivers took time to, obviously they went on to win the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
So they got it.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of work there.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So, but yeah, August 6th, football time. And I think it's September 2nd is Michigan's first home game. First game of the season is September 2nd. And then they have 4 straight home games. So the 2nd, the 9th, something, whatever. But I'm excited.
Well, there's a lot to be excited about. I mean, Michigan's going to have a good team.
Yep.
We still believe Lions are going to have a good team.
Yep.
Right? So there's a lot to be excited about. We
There
just
is.
have to just hope they all live up to expectations.
That's what we hope.
Yeah.
So,
But give us your predictions. What do you think Lions and the Wolverines are going to do? And let us know what you think about the realignment.
Yep.
If you like this having, there's no divisions. Just
for the Big Ten.
Just Big Ten. So let us know what you think in the comments.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you guys real soon. Take care.
All right, we're out.
Thanks for listening to No Pads Sports Talk. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. While you're at it, help spread the word by leaving a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on social media at No Pads Sports Talk.